Please.
Hi, Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
I'm gonna give you here. Give me the, where are we? Let me see if I can use the place here.
Splendor.
Sorry. Hi, Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
I'll give it to you in a minute. Oh, we are at Utet.
We're on Perek Yud Ches.
Wait. Still That's up.
Perek Yud Ches.
And you're right, we read the.
We're
Torah today.
we're on Pasuk Lamed Vav 36. Today's Haftorah for Parshas Kisisa.
Just wait a second, Ernie.
We'll wait. We'll wait.
Here yet. He's
I
coming
saw
on.
Bernie. Bernie signed in.
No, but then he left. I'll get it for you.
Why don't you ask anybody if they want to see Dune with you?
Did you put Splenda in
Yeah, I
there?
put two Splenda.
And did you turn it?
Yeah, I did.
What? With the glasses? Use my glasses. No.
No.
He's
No.
not.
Yeah.
Here's Bernie.
Where's Bernie?
That
Bernie, how's Temmie?
it mixed that. Bernie,
Before Shalema.
before Shlema for Temi. He can't hear us.
Can't hear us.
Bernie,
You can't hear.
okay.
Wait.
We lost Bernie again. Esty did you hear from Temi?
She's doing good. Everything went good. Doing
Okay.
Okay, thank God.
Thank God. Okay, good.
Thank God.
Okay. Perek Yud Ches. Pasuk.
Progress.
So we've been dealing with the climactic confrontation between Eliyahu and the 450 Nevi'ei Abal on Hara Carmel. And he has set up a test that they each choose their own par and they cut them up like an ola and they put them on their respective mizbeachs. And whoever the fire comes down to consume the korban, that's Hashem. And the Nevi'ei Abba failed, and the Mizbech of Eliyahu was loaded with water, and also they had a moat of water around it. So, Vahi Balosa Mincha. The time of Mincha. Last week, we brought a tour that shows how choshuv Zman Mincha is. That you should stop everything in Daven Mincha. Vayigash Eliyahu Navi, here's the first time that Eliyahu is called, I think it's the only time in Tanakh where he's called Eliyahu Navi. Vayomar Hashem Elokei Avraham Yitzchak Yisrael. He invokes Schus Avos. Remember, they built the Mizbech out of 12 stones to represent the Shiftei Kah. Hayom Yivada, today will be known. Ki ata Elokim b'Yisrael v'ani avdecha. That you are Hashem, I am your servant. Uvidvarcha asiti et kol advarim ha'ela. Everything I did was in your name, meaning we've been dealing with the issue of shchutei chutz, that you're not allowed to do a korban outside of Yerushalayim. Part of the Yeridas Ha'esh is going to clarify that this was all correct, and Hashem is desirous of this. Now, we brought the tour that said you have to daven mincha. It's middle of the day, even though you're busy, you've got to turn away from everything you do and daven it. Now, the Maharsha lived after the tour. The Maharsha is a super commentary in the back of every Gemara. And he says, the Torah had to tell me that a person should mevatel one of the 3 tefillos of the day? The Gemara in Brachas, Chavav Amud Aleph says, Avois Tiknum, that Avram was Mesakein Shachris, Yitzchak was created Mincha, Yaakov Ma'ariv, and the Gemara says Keneged Tmidim Tiknum, that Shachris was created because of the Tamid Shel Shachar. Every day they offered a korban Tamid. Mincha was the Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim. The Tamid that was offered in the afternoon, Ma'ariv, is because the Evorim Upedorim, it means the innards of the Mizbeach, the innards of the animal were burned all night on the Mizbeach. So just like we can say Marv all night, it's based on that. So the Maharsha says, why would we have a Havamina? Why would we think that someone's going to miss a tefillah? That the Torah had to come and say, be very careful. So the Maharsha says, Hachi Kama. La'olam yehi adam zahir. The zar is betfilas amincha. You should be extra careful. Shelo yisha osa. Don't delay it. Miyad v'tekef sheyagia zmana yispalal osa. That when the time for mincha comes, you should daven it. Says the Maharsha, Sharei Eliyahu lo nana ele betchilas tfilas mincha. Shenamra vayi balos mincha vayigash. So it's mashma that it was the beginning of the time of mincha that you have to daven mincha right away. I'll ask another question. Why is tfilas mincha called mincha? The afternoon korban is called the Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim. In fact, a mincha was offered with each of the tmidim. A mincha, that means a korban mincha, is a mincha of flour and water, and flour and oil, and wine. So with the korban atomid, not only did they shech an animal and sprinkle the blood and then offer the pieces on the mizbeach, a mincha was brought as well and offered, both in the morning and in the afternoon. So Shachris is called after the Tamid Shel Shachris, but a mincha was offered in the morning as well. So why is Tfilas Mincha called Tfilas Mincha? So listen to this Ramban from Shmos, Perek Yud Beis Pasuk Vav. Mincha Lashon Menuchas Hashemesh V'Hashkeit Oro Hagadol. The word Mincha comes, the sun is setting or beginning to set, and its great strength is weakening. I'm reading the Ramban. Even the Chain Ein Shma Machmas HaMincha Nekrebesima. Thus, contrary to what we all think, that the name Mincha is given because of the Korban, it's not. Ela dehu Tor Azman. It's a description of the time, Shu Sof Hayom, the end of the day. The Perush HaMishnah according to the Rambam, in Brachos, also says, Mincha Shem Noifel Al 8 Mi'itutei Hayom. Its name relates to the time of the day. The Chidah, Chaim Yosef David Azulai, a great Achron, he gave another pshat why Mincha is called Mincha. Because in Sefer Vayikra, where we learn about the Korban Mincha, it says, Nefesh ki sakriv korban mincha la Hashem. A soul that wants to be makriv a korban mincha, says the Chidah, malin alav ki ilu hikriv nafsho. Since the terminology there, it's almost like you're willing to offer your own soul on the Mizbeach. The Chen Yitzchak shatik chen mincha nechshav lo ki ilu efor tzobra gabe Mizbeach. Since Yitzchak Avinu was treated as a korban by the Akedah, and he's the one that was Mesakin Mincha, it's as if his ashes himself. So we have to view Mincha as our ashes of our own bodies, as if we're being Makriv our nefesh. Lamed Zayin. What was the tefillah that Eliyahu David? Aneni Hashem Aneni. V'yedua mazeh, answer me, O God, answer me, so that the people will know, Ki ata Hashem Elokim. Ve'ata sibota et libam achoranit. Now, he's trying to get Hashem to have Rachmanis on Klal Yisrael. And he says to Hashem, you in some way are the cause of why the people have turned their backs to you. So we have to explain that. We ask the question again. Hashem already told Eliyahu that he's going to bring rain. Why does he need all these ribuy of tefillas? So number one, Eliyahu was never told by Hashem to bring this korban bachutz. Eliyahu did this on his own, to be Makadosh Hashem. He thought that would be chayzer the people to tshuva. But Eliyahu didn't know. Maybe Hashem won't agree with that. It's an Isser Torah to shech bachutz. That's why he had to daven a lot of davens. That's how the Abarbanel responds as to why there's such ribuyat tefillah. Now you notice Eliyahu says, Ki ata Hashem ha'elokim. Hashem is Yud Kei Vav Kei. Elokim is Elokim. We know these two names represents two attributes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yud Kei Vav Kei is Midas HaRachmim. And the word Elokim is Midas Adin. he's pointing out that even during the time of Acha, when they were worshiping Avodah Zarah, there was rain. This was a Midas HaRachmin by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Of course, now that the rain has stopped, that's because of the Midas Hadin of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So that I see that interpretation in the Me'am Lois. There are multiple explanations for Aneni Hashem Aneni. The first is Aneni has to do there is answer me because I'm asking you to bring down fire, and after that I'm asking you to get rid of the drought by bringing down rain. The second one is that God is performing miracles for him, but he's also performing miracles for Bnei Israel to see and not magic. So one is for him to see that God will answer him, and the other is for Am Yisrael to see and become Maminim.
Okay, very good. Levi Miberditchev, the Kedushas Levi brings from the Ramban that the Shem Havaya, the Yudke Vavke, that's the koyach that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does nisim v'niflos. Says the Kedushas Levi, when Klal Yisrael is now going to bow down and say Hashem Elokim, Hashem Elokim, it's the Hashem, the Shem Havaya is what does the nisim v'niflos. Even when he's Elokim, because they're not tzaddikim in the times of this generation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu feared Tavel, and therefore he's merachim on us. By the way, when else do we say Hashem Elokim? We say it at the end of Yom Kippur, 7 times, as we escort the Shekhinah through the 7 levels back up to Shemayim. We should have this thought in mind that Hashem Elokim, that even though Elokim is Midas Hadin, the Hashem, the ability to do Nisim and Niflo should overcome that. How does the Radak explain when Eliyahu Navi said that you turn their hearts backwards? So he's basically though saying that Hashem, you should turn their hearts back to you by answering me. He's giving a reason why he's asking for the fire to come down. That if you do a miracle with the fire, Klal Yisrael's heart will turn back to you. But Rashi says, Nosata lahem makom lasur macharecha, uviyadcha haya lachila b'avamelecha. Rashi is based. This Rashi is saying, you gave them a reason why they're running away from you. And this Rashi is based on a Chazal in Brachos Lamed Aleph Amud Beis. Rabbi Lazar, Eliyahu itich dvarim klape mala. Eliyahu is arguing like as a defense attorney. Rab Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak. Minayin shechazar Kadosh Baruch Hu v'hardel Eliyahu. Later on, Kadosh Baruch Hu admits to Eliyahu that he was correct. In Micha, it says, Va'asher hareosi. I put the Yetzer Hara into Klal Yisrael. It's the Yetzer Hara that has turned them against me. So the taina here by Eliyahu Navi is that Kadosh Baruch Hu put the Yetzer Hara in them. And that is what caused them to sin. So now, you have to give them siyata d'shmaya to overcome the Yetzer Hara to be able to do tshuva. The Radak basically says the same thing here. Hayalach halakin et libam l'tova. Now there still says the Radak habechira nosel bnei adam. Human beings have a choice. Hakol b'dei shemayim chutz miyira shemayim. That's a kasha that the Radak is bringing. And we have the same kasha on the Gemara in Brachos Lamed Beis. Rab Chama Rab Chanina, Ilmole Sholish Mikros Halolu. If it wasn't for these three psukim, which Rashi will explain to mean, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the ability to fix our Yetzer and to remove the Yetzer Hara. Achshav yesh lanu pitchon peshu garam lanu shabar Yetzer Hara. That means the psukim throughout Tanakh, where it says Asher Harayosi, or Hinei kachomer biyad haYotzer, kein atem biyadi beis Yisrael, which is, it seems like Hashem created the Yetzer Hara. Yechezkel says, Vasirosi esleva even mibsarchem. I will remove your stone of heart, which is a remez to the Yetzer Hara. So basically the kasha on the Gemara and the kasha of the Radak, Rav Shimon Schwab, the leader of the Yekish community, the Kahal Adas Yishrun in New York, wrote, Yetzer Hara shel Adam chazak me'od. Yetzer Hara is very strong. The efshar lo lizgar b'lav batzmo, b'li'ezer siyata d'shmaya. We cannot overcome the Yetzer Hara without Hashem helping us. Adam gadol yesh yoter siyata d'shmaya mishum deragli chasidav yishmor. A person greater in Torah has greater help from Shemayim, because there's a pasuk that Hashem watches over the raglaim of his chasidim. Says Rav Schwab, Zeh ma she'omer Eliyahu Navi Lashem ve'atasi bosas liba machoranis. So Rav Schwab says it beferish. Shelo natata lam Yisrael siyua. When they were worshiping Avodah Zarah under Achav, you Hashem were not helping them. She'iyu yicholim lizgaber la'yetzer hara shel Avodah Zarah shechazak me'od. We've already discussed in our group how Avodah Zarah was such a strong, powerful, attractive thing. Adarabba b'tchila kodem shvuas Eliyahu. Before Eliyahu made a shvua that the rain should stop, kishaya geshem ba'aretz, when it was still raining and they were worshiping Avodah Zarah. The kol chayei haya b'shalom uv'nimut kishayu avdim Avodah Zarah. Everything was fine and they were worshiping Avodah Zarah. Lo haya az lahem shum netiyah she'azvu Avodah Zarah la'avodas Hashem. Why would they start worshiping Hashem every? So it was a very strong nisayon, says Rav Schwab. Haya nisayon gadol bioter. The af b'mei ra'av. Now the famine. Haya lehem tirutzim. They would say, Lo haya machmas Avodah Zarah. El lechvodah shel Eliyahu. Hashem is listening to Eliyahu. They always had all sorts of excuses that the Avodah Zarah was not being goyim. Saying, Eliyahu is saying here, if you would have given them some help, they would have been choizer b'tshuva. That's the pshat here. The Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva, Efshar sheyichta adam chat gadol or chataim rabim, ad sheyiten adin lifnei dain ha'emes, sheyeh hapiron mizeh choyt al chotim elu sheyaser b'tzur midato, shemoinin mimenu atshuva. Rambam says that people become such balei avera that HaKadosh Baruch Hu removes from them the ability to do tshuva. Kidei sheyamus v'yovad b'chetor sheyaser. Says the Rambam, Chen Yisrael b'mei Eliyahu, lefi shahar b'mipshoah, mana ma'oisam hamarbim l'pshoah b'tshuva. That it was Hashem preventing them from do tshuva. And it's not that Hashem commanded them to worship Avodah Zarah. They did it by themselves. And they were chayiv to be eliminated.
It
Just
sounds like
and
you're
Navi was begging Sheyim cholahem liyisrael v'aniech lem lasos tshuva. That's tfilas Eliyahu here. That really they didn't deserve tshuva. They were one of these categories that the Rambam lists that tshuva was being prevented from them. And that's why Eliyahu is davening so hard to allow tshuva to be able to help them. Yes, Bernie.
It sounds like you're almost comparing the story with Paro. that God wouldn't let Paro change his mind. He took away his Bechira.
Right, that's Bechira. That's
It's very
Bechira.
close to the way what you're saying. A sinner,
Similar.
a serious sinner, God doesn't want him to come and do tshuva. Well, God that prevents him
Correct.
from doing tshuva.
Correct. And here, the
The Rambam is taking a
Elio
very
is
strong stance there.
is to allow them to do tshuva. Exactly.
Why?
I read the Rav Schwab and I read the Rambam. They're the ones who are saying this.
Why doesn't it? If he does have the Zora, he doesn't allow him to do tshuva.
There are certain Averis. The Rambam goes through it in Hilchos Tshuva, what Averis there are, Chomerdik Averis, that you will not be allowed to do tshuva. He takes away from you the ability to do tshuva. That's why we say you need siyata d'shmaya to help you become a Baal Tshuva. And it looks like the tefillah, that tefillah opened the door. By the way, we have to have all these thoughts in mind when Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur come. We say a lot of the same nuschos. Like when we say Hashem Elokim, we should take everything we're learning, we should take it with us. Take a pak, and these thoughts should accompany us when we daven, because they work for Elio. Maybe they can work for our communities as well. So immediately, Lamed Ches, Vatipol Eish Hashem. Hashem responds and brings the fire. Vatochal et ha'olah vet ha'itzim. It consumes the korban, the wood, vet ha'banim, vet ha'afar, the stones and the dirt, vet ha'mayim asher bata'ala licheika, and the water itself. It mentions the Ola first because that's the Iker. The Eitz is the machshir to the korban. Everything else is to show the power of the nace, that there wasn't left, the Kli Yakar says, any moisture at all. And let's see what it says in the Gemara Yuma, Chaf Aleph Amud Beis. Ton Rabbanon, Sheish Ishos Hein. 6 kinds of fire. Yesh Ocheles Ve'ena Shose. There's a fire that eats but doesn't drink. Yesh Shose Ve'ena Ocheles. There's fires that, I guess, consume water but doesn't consume. Yesh Ocheles V'Shose. Fires that do both. V'yesh Ocheles Lachin Kivation. There's a fire that consumes moist things like dry things. Yesh eish doiche eish. Some fires sort of stands against another fire. Yesh eish ocheles eish. There is a fire that consumes other fire. Now, yesh eish ocheles ve'ena shose. Hadidon. Shose ve'ena ocheles. The chulin means a fire that drinks but doesn't consume. That's a fire fever. You don't want to eat, you become thirsty. What's an example? Of ochelas v'shose, that's Eliyahu. The fire that consumes and drinks is this fire of Eliyahu. D'chsiv v'samayim asher b'tala licheika. What's an Eish that's Doiche Eish? That's the fire of Gavriel. Gavriel was the Malach that came down to save Hananiah, Mishael, Vazariah from the furnace, from the burning furnace. He cooled down the fire. So it was a Malach is like an Eish. So it was an Eish that stood against Eish. What's an Eish that consumes fire? The Shechina. Because there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin that talks about a debate between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Malachim, and it says, Hoishit etzbo, he put out his finger, because the Malachim said, Ma enosh kises karenu. What is the human being that you should remember him? And he put his finger beinei and the sarfa. and he burnt them up. So Eish Ocheles Eish is Shechina. The Gavriel was only Eish that pushed aside Eish. But Eish Ocheles Eish, that's the Shechina itself. Pasuk Lamed Tes.
1 second, can I just
Oh,
add,
yeah,
this is
sorry.
interesting.
Sorry.
The Meyam Loes quotes from the Midrash and the Yalkut in Sefer Shoftim. When God was going to give the Torah to the Jewish people, many mountains came before him and asked for the privilege of being the one upon which it was be given. Among them was Har Carmel. God said, even though only one can be chosen now, each of the others will one day be the site of glorification of my name. So it was that just as on Har Sinai, God declared, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, at Har Carmel, the people themselves said, Hashem Hu Elokim, Hashem Hu Elokim.
Came directly from the people. Yashikoya. Pasuk Lamed Tes. Vayar kol ha'am vayplu apnehem, vayomru Hashem hu Elokim, Hashem hu Elokim.
Why did we have so many Nevi'im in those days? So many hundreds of Nevi'im that Rahab was killing. Where did they come from? We don't have anything like that here.
Right. So we've taught before the concept of Zelu Umat Zeh. When you had Kodesh Baruch Hu with the Beis Hamikdash, Nisim taking place. So there was Avodah Zarah also had, just like there was a Ruach Kedusha in the world, and therefore if a person like the Rambam and the Mesilas Yesharim says, who is a person that can reached Nevi'us? This was something that was existing in the world at the time, and that's what animated the Avodah Zarah as well. Menashe Melech told Rabbah in a dream that if you would have lived in my time, you would have picked up your cloak and run after it as well. We look at a totem pole today, we don't see anything. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because when Klal Yisrael came back from Golus Bavel, the Anshe Knesset Gdola davened that the Yetzer for Avodah Zarah should be removed. When that Yetzer was removed, so there's no Ruach HaTumah. There's no Ruach HaTumah, there's no Ruach HaNevuah. There was no, once Anshe Knesset Gdola did that, there were no more Nevi'im. So Kazelu Umat Zeh, it has to be an even playing field for people to choose Hashem. If all you see is Kedusha, you're going to say Kodesh, 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 like a Malach says. But a Malach doesn't have Bechira. The playing field has to be even. So Avodah Zarah was given Koach and the Nevi'im were given Koach.
Didn't they also capture?
Once the Anshe Knesset Gdola removed the power from Avodah Zarah, the Ruach Nevuah had to go away as well.
Didn't they also capture the sex?
No, so they tried to remove the Yetzer Hara for sex, but then the chickens didn't lay eggs, and they saw that the world couldn't exist, so that had to be restored.
I see.
But that is how people like the Michtav Meliyahu answers the question that David just asked: how come we don't have Nevi'im today? And not just how come we don't have open Nisim? A lot of it has to do with this approach. I'm sure there's other approaches, but that's an approach that I've learned from the Michtav Meliyahu, which is a strong approach. Now, the Hashem Elokim is the concept that they understood that Midas Harachamim goes along when he's an Elokim. He's Midas Hadin, but it's together with Midas Harachamim. To be able to help them do tshuva. That's this concept. Why do we close our eyes to say Shema Yisrael? Once heard from Rabbi Krauss, we cover our eyes, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. So Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, is Midas Harachamim, like we've said. and Elokeinu represents Midas Adin. Really, when we see something good, like the din is, if you get an inheritance, you're supposed to make a bracha hatovu meiti. Of course, when somebody goes through a tragedy, you make a bracha dayan emes. You're affirming that Hashem is a midas adin. But the truth is, kol mad avid rachmana litavav. Everything that a Kodesh Baruch Hu does in this world is for good. Just in our reality, it's very hard for us to see it. What's the good in the Holocaust?
Yeah.
What's the righteous who suffer? Tzadikim viralo. All of the various complex questions that we have theologically. How do we reconcile them? We're supposed to. It says that when Mashiach comes, B'shuv Hashem eshiva Tzion hayinu kecholmin. We're going to look back as if we were dreamers, because he's going to show us that it was all good for us, all of it. We don't understand how that could be, but it was all good for us. So that's why we cover our eyes now, because in our reality, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, the Hashem and the Elokeinu, the Midas Arachmi and the Midas Adin, it's all one. It's all good, whatever happens to us. But we don't see it in our day, so we close our eyes. Any comments?
So
You agree? You disagree?
So why do
I heard it from
why-
Rabbi Krause, so it's not mine.
why do some people live to almost 100 and some pass away at 70?
So we don't know. Today, Pasuk, it says, Vra'isa es achorai, ves panai lo yero. You can see glimpses of me, but you can't see. We don't know how HaKadosh Baruch Hu operates. You're asking me to explain how HaKadosh Baruch Hu operates? Every person is when he's born, he's given a certain time, and then there's schuyos, etc. It's a very complicated computer that HaKadosh Baruch Hu works with. And everyone has a certain tafkid in the world. And whether they live a short time or a long time, it has to do with whether you completed your tafkid. A person at 70 maybe completed their tafkid. So these are all hidden answers and good questions, but we can't, these are some of the things that are the secrets of Hashem. Okay, Pasuk Mem. So it doesn't stop with Elio and the Nevi'im. Vayomer Elio lahem. The Jewish people are now on Elio's side. Hashem Elokim, they're with Elio. So Elio tells them, Tifsu es Nevi'ei Abal. Grab the Nevi'ei Abal. Ish ayimalik mehem. Don't let anybody escape. Vayispeshum, they grabbed them. Vayoridem Elio al Nachal Kishon vayishchatem sham. They brought them all down to the river Kishon, and they shechted all the Nevi'ei Abal there. The river Kishon was where Devorah and Barak destroyed in the time of Sisera. And Elio commanded that he should be shechted, just like by Moshe Rabbeinu in this week's Parsha, that he told the Bnei Levi, Simu ish charbo al yerecho, ivdu vashuvu mishar l'shar b'machaneh, v'hirgu ish et achiv v'ish et re'eu v'ish es krovo. Just like over there, when Moshe Rabbeinu told the Bnei Levim to kill out all the people who were worshiping above the Zara, here as well, as part of the nace, Eliyahu commanded the people themselves to shech the Nevi. This is a kapara. They were supporting the Nevi Abal. So now you have to grab them and kill them. And there will be a kapara. The Ralbag and the Barbanel say it was Elio himself who did it. Remember, who is Elio? Pinchas. He's a kanoi. So in the kanos for Hashem Yisbarach, he shechted them all himself. Just like Shmuel killed Agag himself. Or like Pinchas killed Zimri. And based on the pshat that we've been learning that Elio is Pinchas, that's why the Ralbag and the Barbanel learned that pshat. However, we have some questions. When you kill somebody by shechting them, you're killing them with a sword. Now, is that the capital punishment that, at least according to Jewish law, you're supposed to give somebody? No, a Navi Sheker is Mechuyev Skila, according to Chachamim, or Chenek, choking, according to Reb Shimon. Like we learn in Sanhedrin, Peites Amud Beis, Ton Rabbanim, Navi Shehidiach. You're talking about a Jew who becomes a Navi to Avodah Zarah that causes other people to worship that Avodah Zarah. His punishment is Skila. Skila was they pushed the person off of a cliff. If he didn't die, then they threw stones on him. Not a cliff, they put him on a high place. Reb Shimon Omer Bechenek, choking. Choking was they stood you up against a post. They garroted you, basically. They put a rope around your neck, and they had a stick behind the other, and they would turn the stick until it choked you. That's chenek.
And Sreifa, lead.
Sreifa was they made them drink molten lead.
Ah,
And then cherev is they cut your head off. Okay. So the Iyei Hayam says, Efsher loimer shahaisa kanai rasha. This was a hayrasha through the al pinavuas Eliyahu. So number one, we don't see that there was hasra given before you carry out capital punishment. You have to warn the person. It says in Chazal that a bezdin that executed someone once every 70 years was considered a killing bezdin. It means it was very rare for capital punishment to be carried out. Why? Because number one, if somebody's going to murder somebody, right before they murder that person, two witnesses have to give the person hasra and have to say, you know what? Don't kill this guy, because if you kill this guy, you are going to be put to death. By the way, the hasra has to be done toch kedei dibur. Toch kedei dibur means shalom aleichem Rebbe. It's that time frame that you say shalom aleichem Rebbe. That's called toch kedei dibur. The hasra has to be given to the perpetrator in that time frame before he committed the act. So the EIM points out, where do we see that these Nevi'ei Abal were given Asra? So therefore, if there was no Asra, Bezdin would not have had the power to kill them. Now, there is extrajudicial killing. Sanhedrin Mem Hayom Beis Shimon ben Shetach Tala Shmoinim Noshim Mipnei Shashat Tzrichalo. The Hayu Az Prutzim Bekishuf. It says there were 80 women who were magicians or witches, and Shimon ben Shetach hung them. There's no capital punishment in Yiddishkeit to hang, but he hung them. It was extrajudicial because the Shah was Hutzra Chalakah. Because sometimes you have to get rid of sinners from the Kahal. And that's another reason why they say these Nevi'im were killed without Asra. Echad sherochav, it says there in Sanhedrin Mem Vav Amud Aleph. Echad sherochav al sus b'Shabbos b'mei Yevonim. There was a person found riding a horse on Shabbos during the times of the Greeks. Now, riding a horse is a rabbinic prohibition. There's muktzah. It's not midoraisa. There's maybe Xeri going to pull a branch off of a tree and hit the horse. It's not midoraisa, but heviu lebezdin v'saklu. They brought him to Bezdin and stoned him. Mipnei shehashot tzricha lekach. The time was needed at that time that they had to do it. Says the Midrash Chayfetz Befeirush, time shahargas ve'abal b'sayiv, humishum demuvat shayinu ve'ei sheker. It's not just that they were nevi'ei sheker, hayugam ken roitzchim. Shahargu kol nevi'ei Hashem. Remember, they were killing out nevi'im that were prophets to Hashem, so they were murderers. The punishment for murdering is cherev, is having your head being beheaded with a sword. The Meshech Chochmah, who is a great commentator in the late 1800s, in Medina Malchus Hargam, Asayidei Achav. He says Achav commanded them. Remember, we've already learned we are Navi students, all of us. We know that a Melech, remember David HaMelech, by saying kill him, you could kill him. That's Medina Malchus. So the Meshech Chochmah is learning that Achav commanded them to be killed. And when the Malchus kills, they don't have all these options of skila and sreifa and cherik. It's besayif. It's all with the sword. The Rambam in Hilchos Melachim says, "Matzinu shecharabo afshali zevel, lefishi hi aita maneges amalchus v'lo achav, v'hi lo yershasu lo argosa." We're going to see next parak that she gets all upset when she hears that under Achav's sort of reign, while he was there, he allowed the Nevi'im to be killed. Mashma, that they were killed by command of Achav. Okay, Mem Aleph. Vayomer Eliyahu la'Achav. After they killed Nevi'im, Eliyahu says to Achav, Alei echol ushasei. Go eat. Ki kol hamon hagoshem. The rain is going to come. There's going to be a loud noise. The rain is about to come. What does this tell Achav to eat? Again, we see the double nature of Achav. We've been seeing, remember, Achav himself by himself went out along with the Ovadia to look for food for Klal Yisrael. So we see elements of Achav good, and of course elements of Achav bad. We've seen that a few times. The Radak says here, Achav haya misaneh, latziras akshamim. What do Jewish people do when rain doesn't fall? We fast. Achav was in Tainus. So Eliyahu tells him, now you can start eating. He told him, go up from the river where you shechted the Nevi'im, go to Emek Yisrael, where your tent is, and eat and drink. Others say the Mizbech was sort of in the middle of the mountain, and they killed the Nevi'im below the mountain. And now he told Achav to go up to the top of the mountain, so he'll be able to see with his own eyes the coming of the rain. Eliyahu was sure that Hashem was going to bring the rain. He had the bitachon. By hearing Klal Yisrael say Hashem Elokim, he understood that they all had been choizer b'tshuva, and therefore the Geshem would fall. Now, halacha question. If you're fasting as a community because rain is not falling, and rain starts falling on the day of the fast, do you have to stop fasting? I mean, if the purpose of the fast is to bring rain, and now it's raining, can you stop fasting on that day? So the Gemara in Tain is Chafei Beis Ton Rabbanon. Hayu misanin v'yardu lehem kshamim. The people were fasting and it rained. So Kodem hanetzachama lo yashlimu. If the rain fall before the nates, before the sun rises, they don't have to start fasting bichlal. Or if they started fasting from the night before, they don't have to finish. La'achar hanetzachama yashlimu div Rab Meir. If they started fasting with the nates and then it rained, they have to finish the fast. Ravina Omer Kodem Chatzois Lo Yashlimu. That he pushes it off to noontime. That if it begins to rain prior to Chatzois, they can stop fasting. But La'achar Chatzois Yashlimu. If it only starts raining 2 in the afternoon, you have to finish. Rabbi Yosi Omer Kodem Teisha Shos Lo Yashlimu. If it begins to rain prior to 9.5 hours, 9 hours, they don't have to finish. La'achar Teisha Shos Yashlimu. Shekein Matzinu Ba'achav Melech Yisrael. She'ishane Mitesha Shos Lamali was still fasting 9 hours later. Okay. Membeis. Vayale Achav Lechol V'lishtos. Achav went up, like we explained, either to the top of the mountain or from the river to the middle. Ve'elio ala Rosh HaKarmel. He went up to the top of the Carmel. Vayigar artza. Vayigar is a lashon like bowing. Vayasam ponav ben birkav. He put his face between his legs, or birkav is his knees. Vayigar means nishtatech lars. He fell b'pishut yadayim raglayim, says the Yonasan ben Uziah. He stretched out his hands and his legs, lying on the ground. And when he put his face next to his knees, he didn't want to stop his tefillah until he knew for sure rain was falling. Like when we all daven every day, and we say Tachlin after Shmona Esrei, so we start saying some Tachlin while we're standing. Then we do V'achar kach b'yeshiva. And then V'anachnu lo neda, we stand up again. It means you daven in all sorts of body positions similar to Elio.
Excuse me, Ernie.
Yes.
What Zevel killed 500 Nevi'im?
No, Izevel, Ovadia saved 100 Nevi'im that were left. 50 in a cave and 50 in another cave.
How many were killed?
Izevel killed thousands.
Why were there so many Nevi'im?
I explained Shmuel HaNavi had schools of Nevi'im. They taught people to be Nevi'im.
The people ask them, will it rain tomorrow? And they'll tell them. I mean, what they need the Nevi'im for?
We have 48 Nevi'im and 7 Nevi'ot that have been written down in Tanakh, because whatever they said was worthy for Doros. But the millions or thousands of Nevi'im that existed, but for their time only. And what they said or they didn't have any lesson for future generations. So we know of 48 Nevi'im that have been recorded, but we know that there were thousands or millions of other Nevi'im throughout history. Like I said, up until the time of the Anshe Knesset Agdola. There was the wherewithal of, if you met certain criteria of tzidkis and chachma and etc., that you were able to have ruach hakodesh and in some level be.
Is this a Rebbe, a big Rebbe? They go to him can't have children and mispalal, and he says something, and then they have children. You hear these stories all the time.
Go ahead, and therefore what?
Are they Nevi'im?
No, we don't have Navi, ain't Navi. After the Anshe, Chacham Adif mi Navi, says Chazal. A Chacham is even greater than a Navi,
Ah,
right? What does it say in Pirkei Avos? Ezel Chacham haroeh tanolad.
right.
Means a Chacham also has the ability to see the future, but he sees it through wisdom. Okay. The Ralbag goes through why did he still have to daven now? Wasn't it promised already? So again, they were not roy fully for this.
The Abarbanel takes the opposite point of view. He says that Eliyahu Navi was not bowing down with his head between his legs, but he was pleading with God to understand that it's not midah, that the Am Yisrael had earned this miraculous rain that was coming, and it was not because of God's midas harachamim, but because they earned by doing tshuva, by saying Hashem Elokim.
Right? Very nice. The Ralbag says it had to do with when was the rain going to come? Rain comes in a natural way. But Eliyahu wanted the rain to come right now so that they would see that it was their sin that was preventing rain. And now that they did tshuva, the rain comes immediately. He wanted it to be very clear. Says Rav Tzadok Cohen in the Tzidkas HaTzadik, you need a tefillah. I'm just going to read what he said. Tefillah tzarech l'chol davar afal pi shenigzer Hashem yizbar. Even though Hashem is goizer that it should happen, you need tefillah. He brings Tirab Eliyahu. She'omer lo Hashem harei lechav. Eliyahu was commanded, go appear to Achav. Ve'etna matar al pnei adama. Afal pi chein emar vayigar artza vayatzim ponav ben birkav. This pasuk we just learned. It's a pasuk of tefillah. That he was marbid in tefillah until Geshem came. Chachamim saying Masechta Rosh Hashanah says that Tzidkas HaTzadik that on Rosh Hashanah you get a Gzar Din, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. If you have a Gzar Din, why did Anshe Knesset Agdola establish that we have to daven every day? Like the Gemara asks, Kaman Matzlina Na'idna. Why do we daven today? Shema Shem Ayu Mispalim Umarbin B'Tfili Krog Gzar Din Shezeu Alibid Rabbi Yossi. This is we have there's a machlokas whether or not we can rip up the Gzar Din of Rosh Hashanah. We take the approach of Rabbi Yossi that our tefillas every day can also affect the Gzar Din. And not only that, the way we're learning tonight is even if there's a Gzar Din l'toiva, it has to come with tefillah. By the way, the Griz, Soloveitchik, that means the Brisker Rav in Yerushalayim who passed away in 1960, not Rav Yoshe Ber, Rav Yoshe Ber's uncle. Brias Mater Lo Aisela B'Tfila. Why do we have all these Marshiv Aruach, Lemorda Goshem, the Saint Talmud? The concept of rain, when we work the land, we have to be makir the toiv of kshamim. It has to come through tefillah, says the Griz. That's how it was created with Shas Bria. Says the Kehilas Rabbah that the schus of the Eliyahu was Shabbos umil. It says in Koheles Tein Chelik l'Shiva v'Gam l'Shmona. So the Shiva represents Shabbos, Shtei mitzvahs, Shabbos umila, and that's why he put his head between his legs to be meramez the mila. That for Shabbos and for Mila is what he was davening for. Does somebody want to say something? I saw. Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments? We will, God willing, finish. We basically we'll finish the Perek and start Perek Yutes, which is Jezebel's revenge. And Eliyahu Navi has a very similar mystical experience with Hashem, similar to the one that Moshe Rabbeinu has in Parshas Kisisa, where he's put into a cave, and the very similar nevuah occurs. That's Mirz Hashem, we'll learn next week. Any comments, questions, or aros?
Are you mishtachave on the whole body and you put the head between your leg?
No,
You know-
he started that way, but he didn't leave the posture of tefillah directly. He then put his head, after he did Pisha Yadam Raglayim, he then put his head Bain Birka for a period of time until he was sure that the Geshem came. He continued to daven. He just changed positions. That's why I brought the Tachanun business, that also we change positions. Stand, sit, bow, go up. Yeah. Okay, have a good week, everybody.
Everybody should have a good-
Shavua tov.
Shavua tov.
Oh, yeah.